Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A View from the Game with your host with the most, Pimpin Ken. And it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce my next guest. Y'all going to be seeing him everywhere. Right now, he's on the media run. He's doing a fabulous job. I had the awesome opportunity to be with him on the Beehive show. Now he's here on my show. Hey, man. What's up, brother AD, the Kingmaker?
What's going on, man? I'm excited to do this again.
Yeah, well,
been talking all week. Let's do it again.
Well, you very loquacious. You can talk a lot, and so I want to start with the embryo, right? I like to find out where did a person come from, what was your upbringing, what type of schooling you had, and what led you into the mentality of the masculinity king.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm originally born in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, actually. Raised in Houston, and grew up there most of my life. Very close with both my parents. And I know that what really, really sets me apart, like the foundation of all this is like having a strong relationship with my father. You know what I'm saying? And when your dad is that nigga, you have no choice but to be that nigga. You know what I'm saying? So it's a gift and a curse. But yeah, man, he always told me to go to school, do something related to math, and you'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? So I fortunately had a good cousin who I grew up with, and I did everything he did. I just kind of followed him. You know what I'm saying? He played basketball, so I played basketball. You know what I'm saying? He liked light-skinned chicks, so I like light-skinned chicks, right? He ended up going to DFW area, or the Dallas area for college. I ended up following him. He ended up becoming a Kappa. And I really wanted to do that. They were kicked off the yard by the time I got there. And, I kind of got my degree in computer science. I had my son when I was 19 as a freshman in college. And I got a 5-year degree in 3 years. I was there, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. So I just didn't take any time off because it didn't make no sense. Go take time off to go home to do what? With what money type of thing, right? And then I ended up getting into corporate America. And not liking it, absolutely hating it, becoming a menace on the work floor, and realized that working for big corporations was not for me. Then I also had a stint in network marketing, which I tell people is kind of like my boot camp, right? I did that for like 6 years. I worked underneath Patrick Bet-David and people helping people. It was a great opportunity. And eventually I got back into the tech space and I found my wings and I started making the money, making $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year, $500,000 a year. Got married, right? Funny story, I'm gonna make sure I tell you about that. Like the day I decided, like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get married, right? Even though I do not recommend it today, because marriage makes relationships worse. But long story short, man, I ended up getting in corporate and now I'm making this money, I'm making $500,000 a year. And I have all this time on my hands, right? Because what I do, one of the coaching things that I do is I coach husbands who are already making six figures, who are working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week away from the home. I teach them how to learn a specific tech skill where they can work from home, less than 20 hours a week, earn $250,000. So I had all this time and there's money on my hand, right? And I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna start getting into hobbies. I'm gonna start playing tennis. I'm gonna start playing more sports. I'm gonna learn all these things. And I realized, you know what? I wanted to dibble and dabble in some coochie. I didn't know, right? When I got married, I promise you what was going through my head was I'm a one-woman man. This is all I need. The rest of these just get on my nerves anyway. And then what happened was I got in contact with a good friend, and he and his wife, they date women togetger, right? So this was new to me, right? So for like 2 years straight, I was working with him doing stuff for his business, like automation, and he was teaching me everything he knew about women and everything. It was a great time, right? And when I was telling him, like, yeah, I don't know if I could do multiple women, that'd be multiple headaches. And he was like, no. He said, what you don't understand is you're not doing it right. Your woman is not pleasant. Your woman does not bathe you. Your woman does not cook and then wait for you to come home. Your woman does not bring you other women. If you had pleasant, submissive, vibrant, grateful women, how many of those would you have? I was like, oh man, I'd have as many as I could afford. He was like, exactly, right? And so that opened up Pandora's box for me. And at this point, man, I've had every kind of relationship that you can have with a woman except a sugar mama.
So let's go back to your childhood. What was the first time you approached a woman, and did you feel that you were able to approach her, or did you just, it just happened?
The first time, I don't remember the first time. Well, so here's the thing about me, man. I've always been goofy. I've always been funny. So for me, if it ain't fun, it ain't for me. So I like to walk up and say the first thing that comes to my mind. Now, sometimes it works, other times it doesn't work. But what I've learned is it don't matter what you say because she's choosing based on who you are and your presence. The words don't matter. You know what I'm saying? If Chris Brown were to walk up and stutter, he's still cool, right? Because it's they're choosing based on him, not what he says. But I will say this, I'll never forget. I was at a movie theater. I don't know how old I was. I was probably 12, 13, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I went up to this chick. Me and my cousins were at the movie theater, and I hollered at her. And I didn't realize that her boyfriend was standing like right next to her or whatever. Yeah. And you know, she politely shot me down. And like I was walking away, and I heard I saw the boyfriend walk up, and I was like, man, that's a real nigga, bro. He could have beat me up. He could have made fun of me. He could have been like, he just let me politely get shot down and kept it pushing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first rejection that I recall. It was polite. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mind being rejected, just as long as it's not disrespectful.
So when you went to college,
mm-hmm.
you studied engineer, right?
Mm-hmm. Software engineer.
So you kind of like graduated, but when you went to college under the pretense or under the expectation of becoming rich, right?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, I wanted to make six figures because that's the magical number that everybody wants to hit when they ain't never had it before. Yeah. There's nothing specific about six figures. In fact, six figures is not even a number. Like that could be 100,000 all the way to 999,000, right? Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to, you know what was interesting, man? I'll never forget. I remember my cousin was already in corporate and I was like, okay, you get dressed and you go sit in an office for 8 hours to do what? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, I just needed to like be inside one of those ivory towers and see like what is going on. And then when I got there, I was like, man, this shit boring as hell, right? But no one in my family really finished college. So I was the first one to kind of do that and not get on drugs, right? Because that's an important distinction. And I remember sitting down with my manager at the time, and I'm wreaking havoc on the floor and things like that. And she literally sat me down and was like, look, I get it, you're ambitious, but if you came here to get rich or to make a lot of money, bro, you came to the wrong place. And I was pissed after spending 4 years and $40,000 worth of student loan debt to get there to tell me this at 22. Like, bro, I was hot. I was hot. And I realized, okay, this is not how I'm going to do it. I did end up still making, $500,000 a year and things like that in corporate. It took me some time to figure out the path on how to do it.
Do you think that kind of explains why you teach the class to six-figure men how to make money sitting at home?
Yeah. Just like I have mentors and everything. One of my new rules is I'm never starting anything new from scratch. I'm always buying a blueprint from somebody and getting game from them. But I remember being at home, playing Spider-Man, just swinging around the city, making all this money. I was just bored, right? And one of the things I had an idea like, this is so simple, the work that I do. I think that I can teach other people how to do it. And then I started teaching friends and family. And the first person got in, they got a job making $80,000. The next person got in making $90,000, $100,000, all working remotely. In fact, one of my good friends, his name was Walter. He was like, bro, this is probably one of the highest compliments I've ever gotten. He was like, bro, all the major increases in my income and my lifestyle have come through you. Like, I met you, you're doing something, I do it, I win too. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of just been the track record.
So how many people have you helped to get over the hump and to make that money?
It's been less than a dozen, but I went from one-on-one coaching to group coaching at this point, right? So now it's a matter of we have more resources than ever, but now the group of people that I'm working with, like to some degree, I've got to like hold their hand because there's more distance between me and them right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're gonna get to the point where everybody want to talk about the female. So what is the difference between masculinity and femininity?
Yeah, that's a good one. So as best I know it, and I'm not Mr. Know-it-all in masculinity. I'm still learning. There's so many different, there's like the Eastern definition of it and the Western. I'm just going off what I know, right?
Right.
So your masculine self is your doing self, right? Your thinking self. You're actively doing, creating, building, thinking, right? And your feminine self is your feeling self, your intuitive self, right? You ever meet somebody or be in a situation, you're like, something don't feel right here.
Right.
That is your feminine, that is your intuitive self.
Yeah, I know.
And we, both men and women, we have both energies, right? It's just that a man at his nature is mostly, or his core is mostly masculine, right? He's going to respond to the world in a masculine fashion. And a woman at her core is mostly feminine, right? But the interesting thing about it is all these strong, independent women who are in their masculinity is a tool for survival, right? So, like, I have a mentor who told me, he was like, look, if there is a caveman, cavewoman, children or whatever, right? The man must leave the dwelling to go and find and forage for food and things like that in order to keep his family healthy and alive and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for the women and the children to have the opportunity to stay back and learn and play and grow, like that right there, for them to be able to be in their feminine is a privilege, right? And when you see all these women who are go-getters and killing it and doing what they do, and they're in their masculine, in order to really truly be in their feminine, I believe they need a man present. They need someone, maybe not a man, but they need a sense of security. They need to be able to turn it off, turn their brain off and say, you know what? He got it. I ain't got to worry about it. I'm going to just sit and I'm going to live a luxurious life, right? I'm going to turn my brain off. All I got to worry about is cooking. All I got to worry about is cleaning. All I got to worry about is tending to me because Big Daddy got everything.
That say, I'm independent. I got my own money. I'm not going to clean, cook, fucking shut up. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm in control. Or I don't need no man. What do you say to that?
Listen, I'm talking to y'all women, okay? The reason you say that is because you've never had a man worth following, okay? You've only dealt with men who you believe are beneath you, okay? If we're going to say your man is below you, equal to you, or better than you, you've never sincerely held a relationship with a man who you believe was better than you, because if you did, you wouldn't speak to him that way, especially if you believe that he was the best that you can do, right? So let me give my airplane analogy, right, that people love so much. So let's just say, Ken, is you, your lady, and a pilot on an airplane, right? And that motherfucker going down, okay? Ideally, what do you think would make your woman feel most safe? You grabbing the helm, her grabbing the helm, or the pilot grabbing the helm?
The pilot.
Okay, great. Let's say he's incapacitated. Now, what do you think is going to make her feel most safe? You grabbing the helm or her grabbing the helm?
Me.
Okay. Now, if you refuse to grab the helm, and then she grabs it out of fear, she's grabbing it not thinking, I'm going to do such a good job in landing this plane. She's thinking, this nigga won't move. This nigga won't, he's not decisive. He's not going to save us. Fuck it, I save myself, right? And so they're operating from a sense of fear. They don't want to lead. One of the things my wife told me years ago, she was like, look, once I clock out, I just want you to tell me what to do. I'm tired of making decisions all day, right? And they don't come out and say that, but that's how they all feel deep down inside. That's how they all feel. And so typically when they say that, they're usually thinking about like the men who they don't like. They're talking about the men in their phone who are chasing them. They're not talking about the man in their phone who they're chasing, who ain't giving them the time of day. They don't talk like that about that man, right? And I tell men to be that man. Stay out of her phone. Stop complimenting. Stop calling. Fuck all that, right? Become the best version of you and choose who chooses you.
So when you say the best version of you, what do you mean by that?
So when I say the best version, I'm going to put it from my perspective. When I think about me, right, I don't allow the word can't to be used in my household because it is mentally disabling. I can do anything that I desire as long as I put my mind to it and I'm willing to sacrifice and give up what I need to give up, right? And so when I think about the best version of me, I think about, well, you know, can I do this? Can I do that? Yes. Can I handle that? Can I lead children? Yes. Can I lead a woman? Yes. Can I problem solve? Yes. Like there's nothing the best version of me can't do, right? So the best version of me is capable of doing and making all things happen. That means having a successful relationship with a woman, ending a relationship with a woman, creating a new relationship with a woman. So that's what I mean when I say best version of myself. I mean like literally picturing a situation or a scenario where like I don't handle it too well. And then maybe a month later, 2 months later, 6 months, something like that, I come back to it and I handle it way better. That is proof. I was in the situation. I didn't do well. I'm in the situation again, and
So
now I
it's-
handle it
So it's
much better.
about
I'm
improving
improving.
yourself, right?
Exactly.
So you gave an analogy about the NBA.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So, in the NBA, there's a lot of awards. You got the scoring champion, you got the assist champion, you got the guy, you got the sixth man of the year, you got all these, you got the MVP, and these are all really, really cool awards, right?
Mhm.
And they only one person can get it. But
Mhm.
my favorite award of all time has always been the most improved player, right?
Right.
Let's just say that there's 300 players in the NBA at any given time. The most improved player basically means, like, regardless of where you started, nigga, you made more progress, more growth. You made the most significant leap in your abilities, right? And
Mhm.
so I look at myself as the most improved player. I wake up every day thinking, like, you might be better than me, but it won't be that way for long, because I'm going to improve every single day.
So you use the airplane analogy just for clarification. You say, so the woman, once she takes the wheel, she look at that man as insignificant. And that's what happened in a relationship. It's not the airplane, just an analogy, but when a man is a do-nothing man, he don't have no motivation, he don't have no inspiration, he don't have no purpose, he have excuses. That's when she say, I'm gonna take the wheel.
It's more simple than that. It's when there's a problem that has arisen, or a
Right.
decision that needs to be made, and he's indecisive.
That's
That's what I'm saying.
That's what she's helping get the hell up out of here. I don't need you.
Basically, and she's not wanting to grab the helm. She's doing it out of fear.
So if we made better decisions and we led, we wouldn't have women acting and being disrespectful as
You would
much.
probably still have
As
them,
much, I said.
but here's the thing. Here's the other thing. This is going to be an exclusive, right? Most people are losers. Okay, when I say losers, I mean they lack accountability. It's always somebody else's fault or some circumstances why they are how they are and what's going on, right? Most people are losers. That includes women. Most women are losers. Okay, and so, damn. Wait, what did you say? What did you say? Because I want to get back to that point.
It was talking about a woman.
I got you. I know what you're gonna say. Okay, so most women are losers, and so when we're talking about the strong, independent, I don't need a man, those are losers. That's loser talk. That's what that is. No, baby, don't no man want you, and so that's why you say all that. But we would still have those. But just imagine if all men, this is probably never gonna happen, stood up and was like, "Hey, this is my standard. You must talk to me or treat me a certain way, otherwise you will get no attention from me." If that were to happen, you still have that small, minute class of the strong, independent ones. But if every woman understood that, like, all right, we got to shape up or ship out, and or otherwise I will never get a man. Because the ones who are like, I don't need a man, they're talking about the men who are in their phone, who are chasing them, who they don't want, right? And they also don't realize that, like, we've civilized the world to where a woman can be out with her girls, drunk, titties out, all this, and get home safely. That's how civil the world is, right? That has been civilized because men have made it safe.
So what would you say to your 21-year-old self, the self where you didn't have all the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding before you became conscious on the level that you're conscious, and you was trying to pick a woman? What would you say to a 20-year-old man that's watching out there in video land, and he want to know, okay, well, brother AD, you the kingmaker. As a guy that's aspiring to be a king, how do I pick the right woman? And what is the definition of the type of woman that, I know you always say a cooperative woman. So can you explain to them what you mean when you say this is the type of woman, but explain it to a young person out there that don't have as much wisdom as you have, and just walk them through it.
So I have a former mentor who would say that wanting a woman to yourself monogamously and wanting her not to have any sexual relationship with another man stems from mother wounds and mother issues, right? I don't know if that's true. I think there might be a little bit of truth in that. But either way, I would say forget her, forget the broad, do what's best for you, focus on you, right? And then the woman who's around, who's in your ear talking about, this is the most annoying phrase ever. What are we? What are we? What she's saying is, hey, I want to be promoted in your life. That's the one. That's the one. It don't really matter what she look like. She's cooperative. She's cooperating. She's making it easy for you to get access to her. So what I would say to the young version of me is, do you, don't focus on her. In fact, don't even focus on what she wants, because it don't matter, right? Because she wants you. And if you want me, then you're going to have to do what I say, because that's the requirements. My woman follows my instructions. If she just decides not to do that, she's deciding not to be my woman, right? And then pick who picks you, right? So all the ones who make it easy, deal with them. All the ones that make it difficult, leave them alone. And you don't ever have to settle down and pick one, because that's not what's best for you anyway. Because when you do that, now that one is probably going to take you for granted. You're better off just doing what you want to do with who you want to do it with, and make sure that they're investing and pouring into you, and don't get stuck and trapped in this provider mindset, because that's not who they go for. Actually, that's who they cheat on.
So what is the relationship between you and your wife and your other women? I mean,
Yeah.
do they do what you say do? Is you the boss, or are you the how your household look?
Yeah, of course. My wife, because she gets the last name and she's on the mortgage and all that other stuff, so like the requirements are higher for her. But most other women, bro, they just come and go. Like it's really me. I be the problem, because I be trying to squeeze as much value out of them as possible. And a lot of these hoes, there's no value. Like the only thing we can do is have sex and then, on to the next. But yeah, man, I tell women that you are not obligated, nor are you entitled to meeting any other woman who it is that I entertain or deal with, right? And the only other woman, there's no woman who can get me to leave you alone but you, period, right? I had that conversation with my wife this morning. It's like, they're going to be insecure. They're going to feel like you want to replace them or things like that. That's actually a good sign. But yeah, most of them come and go. There's not a whole lot of value to be had out here. And the problem I end up finding is you either got these really feminine women, and they body counts be up there, you know what I'm saying? Or you have these masculine ones, right? They're high earning, they're making things happen, but you kind of gotta like soften them up a little bit, which I actually kind of have fun doing, but that's also work. You know what I'm saying?
But you got a theory on why you don't deal with broke women. Can you break that
Oh,
down?
absolutely, absolutely. So shout out to the game guy Goldie. So I remember being in therapy recently, and my therapist was basically asking me, like, based on your relationship with your mother, what things do you think, like, how do you think that shaped your relationships with women, or how you perceive women? And I was like, oh, I'm expecting most of them to make poor decisions, be broke. I don't have a lot of high expectations for women in general, right? And then I remember Goldie was saying that, like, he had a chick who was making $100,000 a month. I was like, wait, there's women out there who make that? I've been playing in the wrong pool, right? And then I was like, yeah, man, but most women ain't got it like that, right? And so, like, if I have all these lofty expectations for women, like, I'm not gonna find many. And he was like, nah, that's just what you think based on what you've experienced. He was like, I don't fuck with broke women. And I said, but why? Like, why? Because 75% of them make less than $50,000 a year, right? You can go look that information up. Right. He was like, because that's proof that she's been making bad decisions her entire life. And boy, that made a whole lot of sense to me.
That makes a lot.
It makes a lot of sense. And if you were to say there's a broke guy over there in his 40s, you would easily say, yeah, he's been making bad decisions his whole life. It's just I had to raise the standard for women. Like, no, leave those damsels in distress alone. They're making bad decisions.
Goldie also had a good aphorism that I like. He said, if you show me what you caught, and I'll show you where you've been fishing, I'll also show you what bait you used. Mm-hmm. So if you deal with a bride and she's ghetto, you probably found her at the projects. If you deal with a bride that's highly sophisticated, you probably found her in some corporate setting, or at a seminar somewhere.
Makes sense.
So, I understand his perspective on that, but it's another thing that I want to tap on you about.
For sure.
Is you got a very interesting perspective on polygamy. And you kind of gave me some game. And I know this is going to be some game for y'all. Tell them what polygamy really is.
Okay.
Really
you love this part. All right. So we got to break down all these words. There's polygamy, polygyny, polyandry. There's a lot of words. Okay. So poly means many. Amorous means lovers. So polyamorous just means everybody humping on everybody. Okay, that's just what that means, right? Or dating everybody and all that, right? Then you have polygamy, which is many wives or many women. So it's one man, many women. It might be many girlfriends, it might be many wives, many concubines, many side chicks, whatever. It's one man, many women. Then you have polyandry, which is one woman, many men, right? Usually beta males. And in the poly world, you have ethical poly, you have unethical poly, which there's a lot of communication and talking and feelings and all this other stuff going on, and I don't like all that. I just side note, I'm not none of that. I just do what I want to do. Period. And I've studied these terms just to figure out like, okay, where do I fall and where am I at and what am I? And I realized like, bro, there's no two relationships that are exactly the same. How you run your relationships in your household is totally different from me, which is totally different from him. And you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you can kind of like pick and pull things from different places, but your relationships with an S are going to go how you desire them to go. And I just recommend not trying to fit in. You know what I'm saying? Like, do what's best for you as the man. Don't concern her. It don't matter what she wants, because wanting is free, giving is costly, and she needs to earn everything she gets, or she gets nothing at all. That's my opinion on it.
Okay, so we know you have a two-pronged course. One is dealing with masculinity, and the other one dealing with men making money in tech, right? So if somebody was to say, okay, I want to just deal with the masculinity, you know, what would they learn from that part of your course? What do you teach? What is the central theme of your course?
For sure, man. I had just have all this knowledge and this wisdom of, one, what the fuck don't work, because I've done it all, okay? Right. And then two, like, what does work, because I've studied, I've read, I've practiced. Like, that's my thing about my mind. Like, I go down a rabbit hole. When I get started on something, I see it through. I want to know it totally, right? But essentially what I do on the masculinity side, man, is I help 6, 7, and 8-figure bachelors build their roster, right? Whether that's they want a wife, or they want a wife and a girl, they want many girlfriends, whatever you want your roster to look like. I hope you figure that out without wasting time, without wasting money, and without being taken advantage of, right? That's what it is that I do. It's actually very simple. It's very straightforward. And we got to start with deprogramming all this bullshit that was put in your head from Disney and R&B music and all this romance. All of that stuff is nonsense. It's not necessary. It's actually simple. Women are kind of sort of complex, but when it comes to dealing with a woman on your program, it really starts with doing what you want, telling her to do what it is that you want her to do. And if she's cooperative, it means she likes you. If she's not, then she doesn't.
Can a beta man become an alpha man under your program?
I mean, if a
alpha male.
Yeah, everything's possible. And here's the thing, man, I'm not finna sit here and act like I'm better than anybody else. I've made so many mistakes. I've been cheated on so many times, right? And so you could say, I've always kind of had a dominant, aggressive personality with a big ass ego. But at the same time, I've been a sad guy. That's a lot of these guys, they're sad, they don't like themselves, they don't enjoy their own company. Therefore, they need a woman's company to feel good, right? Because if they're alone, then they feel sad, and now their thoughts are racing and things like that.
I heard you say earlier that women can be somewhat destructive. You gave the analogy of the different relationships, homosexuality, heterosexuality, and
lesbian.
Can you break that down?
Yeah.
The reason why it's so difficult to
deal
with a woman?
Ken trying to get me canceled. Okay, so if you look up the domestic violence rates,
don't be too graphic.
Yeah, for sure. If you look up domestic violence rates, and I'm open to being wrong, you can look this up. Y'all drop a comment below, let me know. If you look at domestic violence rates, you have 3 options. You have men and women, so heterosexual relationships. You have women and women, so that's a woman and a woman, that's a lesbian relationship. And then you have 2 men, so that's a gay relationship. Of those 3, if we're gonna rank them in terms of the most violence, so that's fist fighting, throwing things, all of that. Women on women relationships have the most amount of violence. Women and men heterosexual relationships have the second most amount of violence, and men have the least amount of domestic violence.
So all my brothers out there, you know, that in the men and men relationship, he's actually giving y'all a compliment. He said y'all have the best relationship. I don't know, is that politically correct, you know, for people who...
Well, no, I'm not even saying the best. I'm just saying...
less confrontation.
These bitches be beating each other up. That's the first thing I think when I see 2 bitches holding hands in public. I don't say it, but I be thinking it. But what I say that to say, women are chaotic by nature. They need chaos. They are chaos, right? Another way to look at chaos is they need a fluctuation of emotions. They can't be happy and peaceful all the time. Men, we care about peace. Women don't really care about peace like that. They care about the up and downs.
So the Bible, right?
Yeah.
the first book, the Genesis, is called The Fall of Man. You know why it's called The Fall of Man?
Why is that?
Because Adam said, the woman that you gave me deceived me. And the first case of a man being debased or a man falling from grace was with a woman. That's the first chapter. It talks about, and I talk about that in my book, The Art of Human Chess.
Yeah.
I said that women are here to challenge men.
I heard
Women
you say
are
that.
emotional, and men are stable. They're stability. And women have 70% emotion and 30% stability. They need that emotionalism because they got to be able to change the pamper. They got to be able to deal with the crying baby. And so men emotionally can't deal with that. So women's strength is in their brain and in their emotionalism, and they can handle emotional situations a lot better than men.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
it started from the Bible. And I said that, in my book, I said, in reference to the pimp and the hoe is here to challenge you. If you're a weak pimp, she will be choosing up on the next pimp. Inevitably. You know what I'm saying? That's just how the game goes. You can't be weak. You can't show no weakness. And I think that that's why alpha men who are predominantly, in most cases, that I know of, that I've seen were men from that world, from the P world.
I believe
a lot of P's are alpha male, and they're controlling and they dominant. And I think that's why a lot of women will give them anything because they paying for that control, that dominance, that real man.
Yeah, which a nice guy would never do.
And I done had women, right? And I say, why you don't want to deal with a guy that works in corporate America? She said, I just can't deal with weak men. They perceive that as a weakness. They perceive men that are square, men that ain't out there with the strap and with the with the switch and all that crazy stuff. They perceive them as being weak. When in reality, in my opinion, the squares have more fun. I often tell people, I say, who's one of the richest women in the world you know? Oprah. Who's one of the richest men you know? Robert Smith, Michael Jordan. Squares have more fun. They make more money.
And they don't go to jail.
The underworld, we always in and out of jail. But the women are more attracted to that. The best thing that ever happened to a lot of women is when lawyers and corporate brothers like yourself were allowed to be thugs. When people start working from home and they can be them real self. Like here in Atlanta, you got dudes that's lawyer. We got a lawyer called the Fly Lawyer.
I met him.
Yeah, this dude ride around in Rolls Royces, man. He is so flamboyant. He make Bishop Don Juan look like, hey, man, come on, man, step your game up. Because he just as flamboyant as the bishop, and all of the P's. You would think, if you see him, you would think he was a pimp, but that's and he get all the women. All the women be chasing. Every time I say, oh, the Fly Lawyer, they be chasing behind him. And then you got the other guy, he got the suit and tie. He proper, speak well, speak proper language and speak the king language. He don't get no action.
He look boring, probably.
Yeah. And I used to deal with a lot of white women back in my career. I said, why you don't want no white men? They always say they too weak. Women want strong men. Women want a man and being a strong man. It's never been in my career of all the years being a P, and I was a P for many years, that a woman did not challenge me. But I always able to crush one beneath my feet and attain the other one to my purpose. I was just so swift. She couldn't get over on me. And then to this day, like you said, man, I don't chase them. I replace them. You know what I mean?
The next one is always better.
Yeah, I always felt that you could never do a homecoming if you never leave home. The less accessible you are, the more respected you are. So, I concur with a lot of things you say, brother, and it's been a fabulous, I could talk to you forever, and. Can
I add one more thing to that? I think you're going to like this. Maybe you've heard it before.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people get it wrong. They think it's children and adults. And in reality, there's children, there's women, and there's men, right? And I truly believe that God put children on this earth so that women can understand what men feel like dealing with their asses, right? Because how does your woman act when she don't get what she wants? She's pouty, she's whiny, all these things, right? I want to throw a fit. The same exact thing that my son does, right? All the shit that my son does and my wife complains about, I'm like, he gets it from you. This is it. This is what it feels like. And she's like, damn, I got to start doing better. You know what I'm saying? So that's another tip, guys. When you're dealing with your woman, act as though she was a child. When she's upset and all that, don't try to problem solve. Don't just hug her, give her a kiss on the forehead, say, oh, poor baby, and then walk away. let her deal with her own emotions. That's not your job. You a grown man. Your job is to focus on you and your emotions. She's a grown woman, and that's her job
Are you
to
familiar
take
with
care of
Dr.
hers.
Eric Burns?
No.
Y'all check it out. It's a book called I'm Okay, You Okay, Transactional Analysis. He kind of pretty much delineate the same thing that you just said. He said there's 3 ego states. It's the child ego state, it's the parent ego state, and the adult ego state.
Mm-hmm.
When we act like a child, we're in our child ego state.
Mm-hmm.
And grown people can act like an adult or like a child. And then the person that comes and gives you that hug, that's considered the parent. So that's the parent ego state. That child, and we fluctuate from state to state. We could be an adult. Adult is the responsible person, and so on and so forth. But at some point you're gonna go back to the child ego state. Some point you're gonna be the parent ego state. Some point, and then he said all this is geared and motivated by strokes, by stroking your ego. You know what I'm saying? So when you act in a certain way, you pat them on the back, or you say you did a good job, and so on and so forth. So that's a book that kind of pretty much
I'm gonna get that.
encompass what you was talking about. So y'all make sure y'all go check out Dr. Eric Burns. I'm Okay, You Okay, Transactional Analysis. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give my brother AD the Kingmaker a chance to pretty much talk about his social media and all the things he got going on that he want to conclude with.
Absolutely. So if you're a guy, right, and you're already making 6 figures, you're working away from the home, and you're tired of that, you want to be able to make 6 figures, work in tech, work from home, have time for your wife, your kids, your fam, all of that. If that's you, go to makemeking.net. Okay, all of my tech resources are there. Or if you're a 6, 7, 8-figure bachelor, you're looking to build your roster, you're looking to not waste time, not waste money, not be taken advantage of, you too, go to makemeking.net. We have the ability to book a one-on-one coaching call. We also have my mentorship program. We only have 10 spots for that. So that's for serious players who are ready to invest in themselves and be able to turn their relationships around and, be able to really be in their full masculine and learn how to deal with women in an effortless fashion. And an effortless relationship is the one where your woman believes that you are the best that she can do. So therefore, she gives you no problem. She gives you no lip. She don't smack her lips. She don't cross her arms. She don't do none of that shit. We don't get down with none of that. You know what I'm saying? So if you're interested in any of that, makemeking.net.
Where you get that jacket from?
Oh, this is the HHF, the hip hop fraternity. You know what I'm saying? I got to rock it today, so I appreciate you giving it to me. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna run it up.
Yeah, man. This brother here, he travels a lot, and we know that he's gonna wear the jacket, with much pride and much valor. So, man, I appreciate this brother, man. And, man, hey, once again, man, y'all are watching A View from the Game with your guy, Pimpin Ken. I got my man, send me AD. And make sure y'all go get my book at audible.com. Pimpin Ken, type Pimpin Ken in the search box, get the 48 Laws of Game or the Art of Human Chess. And make sure every Monday, y'all meet us at the Ice Bar, 5456 Fayetteville Road, Atlanta, Georgia. And also, make sure that y'all go to hhfmedia.com. Share, like, and comment on this video. It don't make a difference who you share with. Just share it. Peace.